Hello students, welcome again. So, in today's video, we will be discussing about respiration. We have all known about respiration from lower classes, but in this lecture, we will be knowing in more detail about the process of respiration. So, we all know respiration is the process by which breakdown of what? Of glucose occurs, or you may tell it food occurs, okay, which gives ATP, that is energy. Okay, now it is very easy. Respiration is any process by which breakdown of glucose occurs and it gives energy. Obviously, it is a very important process by which all the living organisms in the whole universe take their energy. Yes, it is needed for their daily work. Every biological entity, every living organism will need what? ATP. So, respiration is needed by all the animals, all the plants, all the bacteria. Okay. Now, if we discuss respiration are of two types. Okay. One is aerobic. What is aerobic respiration? It is the type of respiration where oxygen is required. We all know that reaction. Can anyone guess? I know every one of you know. The reaction is C6H12O6 plus 6O2, which produces what? 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy, that is nothing but ATP. Okay, so ATP is being produced by using the glucose and the oxygen, that is the O2. Okay, oxygen. So respiration is needed, oxygen is needed for the process of respiration, okay, in aerobic respiration. But there is another type of respiration that is known as the anaerobic respiration. Okay, if we write it, the anaerobic respiration, in this type, no oxygen is required. Okay, and partial breakdown of glucose occurs. Partial breakdown of glucose. Another very important point is less energy is produced. Okay, in case of anaerobic respiration where there is no oxygen getting used, less energy is being produced, whereas in aerobic where oxygen is used, more energy is getting produced. Now, what is the reaction? There will be a certain reaction. So how it is getting breaked? So C6H12O6, this is the glucose, it breaks it down to 2C2H5OH. Okay, it is nothing but alcohol. We all know how beer is being produced. Beer is produced by yeasts. Okay, what they do? The yeasts do respiration in the barley. Okay, and they produce the alcohol beer. Okay, now 2 CO2 and energy are getting produced. Okay, we will now discuss about the steps of aerobic respiration. What are the steps? In our NEET exam or any other competitive exam, we only focus on the aerobic respiration where the oxygen is required. Okay, so what are the steps of aerobic respiration? See, there are two main steps. One is the glycolysis, which is known as the EMP pathway, given by the names of three scientists, Emden, Meyerhoff and Parnes. Okay, spelling of glycolysis, I have written it wrong. Glycolysis. So this glycolysis, where does it occur? The glycolysis occurs suppose this is the cell, this is the nucleus of the cell, and it will also have what? The mitochondria. We know there is mitochondria in the cell. This is the mitochondria. This is what? The cytoplasm of the cell. And this is the nucleus. So this process of glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. Please remember, half of the process of respiration occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. That is the glycolysis. This glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, whereas the other half occurs inside the mitochondria. That's why it is known as the energy house of the cell. The ATPs are produced inside the mitochondria, but the initial steps are done in the cytoplasm. Clear? So what happens in glycolysis? Glycolysis, you can just by the term you can get acquainted with. Glycolysis means to break the glucose. Glycolysis, lysis means breaking down. So when we break the glucose, a glucose is the 6 carbon compound. When we break it to pyruvate, okay, 2 molecules of pyruvate, that are 3 carbon compounds. Pyruvates are 3 carbon compounds. We get 2 ATP molecules and 2 NADH molecules. Okay, so when we are breaking down glucose, we are getting 2 ATP and 2 NADH. Now what happens really in the glycolysis? Glycolysis is a 10 steps process. See, this is a 10-step process. This is the chart of glycolysis. In the first part, we will be doing it up to glycolysis. See, in the first step, glucose is broken down to glucose 6-phosphate. Okay, means on the sixth position of glucose, a phosphate group is being added by the enzyme hexokinase. Okay, so Which enzyme adds the phosphate group? Hexokinase. Just remember the function of two enzymes. One is the kinase, it adds phosphate group, and there is another enzyme named phosphatase. There is nothing named phosphatase in the glycolysis. Okay, so don't remember, just remember that kinase adds phosphate group. Okay, so hexose means 6. In the position 6 it is adding, that's why hexokinase. Then from glucose 6 phosphate comes another enzyme, that is the phosphoglucose isomerase. Okay, isomerase means the structure and everything will be the same, but there will be some differences in the position of the carbons. Okay, so isomerase enzyme changes position of carbon. Glucose and fructose, they are both are 6 carbon, but the position of the carbon changes. Okay, the configuration changes. Okay, then see, okay, to do this glycolysis we need ATP also. See, we are investing energy to get energy, we are investing energy. Okay, so ATP is invested in the first step and also in the third step. See, this one is the first step, this one is the second step, this is the third step. Okay, now after that another kinase is used in the fructose 6 phosphate. The fructose 6 phosphate then is converted to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Okay, so phosphofructokinase changes it to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Then comes one enzyme named aldolase. Aldolase, what it does, till now it was a 6 carbon compound. All these are 6 carbon compounds. There are 6 carbons altogether. Okay, so the aldolase enzyme breaks them into two parts. One is GAP, one is DAP, glyceraldehyde phosphate and dihydroxyacetyl phosphate. So the aldolase does all this stuff. See, it is breaking the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate to GLAP and DAP. Okay, then this GLAP is again changed to 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate by the enzyme GLAP hydrogenase. Okay, see, one hydrogen or energy is getting added and it is getting hydrogenated. H plus ion is getting added, H ion is getting added. So that is the function of hydrogenase. One hydrogen is getting added. So 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is produced. Then see, there were only 2 ATPs. 2 ATPs are producing 2 ADPs. From ADP, ATP is getting produced. Okay, from ADP, ATP is getting produced. ADP is having 2 phosphate and ATP is having 3 phosphate. Obviously, the ATP molecules are more energized. So ATP or energy is getting produced in this step. Remember the step, please. Okay, then the phosphoglycerate is transferred or converted by kinase, phosphoglycerate kinase to phosphoglycerate. Okay, in the next step the phosphoglycerate mutase comes into action and converts it into phosphoglycerate, 2 phosphoglycerate. From 3 phosphoglycerate, 2 phosphoglycerate is converted. Okay, so these steps you will have to remember it. All of these are enzymes. Okay, there is nothing to understand over here. Then comes the enolase enzyme, which converts the phosphoglycerate to phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, the enol group is added and it is converted to phosphoenol pyruvate. Then there is another step where another 2 ATPs, means 2 ATPs are produced. Okay, then the pyruvate kinase produces the pyruvate molecule which is 3 carbon. Okay, so that is it. That was the stuff. We are getting how many in the end product? We are getting, after running the glycolysis, we are getting 2 ATP and 2 NADP. So 2 ATP and 2 NADH is produced. That is the net gain. Okay, that is the net gain after doing the process. So this was the first part. I hope you all have understand. This was a very tricky topic. You have to memorize some details. You also have to understand it. Okay, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.